Thank you very much. I don't know if this is on or not. Hello? There we go. All right, it's after lunch, so I'm going to try to make this a little bit more uplifting, and I think somebody mentioned, is everybody going to leave in tears because the world's flooding? You know, I'm not going to use that speech. I'd like to basically start off as, I'm one of the team. We grew a small business, you know, actually, Alistair knew myself and my partner when we started, 2 people in the Philippines. I'll save you 26 years of story. It's been a fantastic journey. Outsourcing is where we came from, and it's still very much about part of what we do. But part of this, I'm just using this as a bit of a journey to tell you that there is unbelievable opportunities and there's a whole lot of challenges. I'm going to try to fairly represent both of them with a little bit of our journey. I'm a serial entrepreneur. My partner came from corporate finance, so I try to fly to the world and she nails my feet to the ground. 26 years later, I can tell you that we've got about 5,000 folks in 23 countries delivering impact. Now, again, this isn't a commercial, but I'm trying to let you know the market we're talking about is so much bigger. Our business models, the way that we operate from society, civil society, business, government, are all going to dramatically change. Now, you can go home and say you heard it here, or you could be like, this isn't going to happen. I hope to give some facts or numbers, but you know, in this festival of sourcing, I'd like to challenge everybody in this room that we actually have a much bigger part to play in this journey than even impact sourcing. Okay, I apologize, but I believe that we have a much bigger impact or a story to provide the world that we can provide solutions. So I'm going to give you our small, humble story and imagine what you could do in either your own organizations or through entrepreneurial experiences. So let me see if I can figure out how to work this. Here we go. I'm going to start with 3 things, I'm going to end with 3 things. BPO. In some shape or fashion, we're all in the buyers or the sellers of delivering some service. Historically, it's always been about what? Efficiency, faster, better, quicker. We help businesses that deliver some type of services to society. There is no difference in what we expect, impact or ESG. Now, we're all in numbers or KPIs or turnaround times. So let me give you some numbers. Before COVID, generally the world's economy was about 88 to maybe about $92 trillion a year. The world, according to the UN, if you want to put 2 cents, and they've got a lot of accountants and a lot of economists, we needed to spend about $2.5 trillion a year to help make the world more sustainable. Okay? What does a sustainability mean? It's about as difficult to understand sustainability as it is impact sourcing, to be frank. It means a lot of things to different people. Let me just give you my simple explanation. We got a limited amount of resources and we got a lot of people. The math doesn't work. Okay? That's, it's 5th grade sort of math issue. We need to install technology, better practices, policies, regulation. A slew of change has to come down the road for us to balance out how we're going to operate this planet. And whether it's just climate, natural resources, it sort of goes down the complete slew of possibilities. So one aspect, BPO has an absolute role in this transition. Leveraging technology, leveraging people, leveraging impact sourcing, because we need to help. There's a whole part of the world that the digital divide is going to continue to put further and further away, that we have a role, and while we get value from resources, we also have to think about how do we help that digital divide along that journey. I'll bring that a little bit later. Impact. I'm a business guy. Not very well read, but I seem to be able to find serial entrepreneurial opportunities. From delivering some type of impact and creating a value proposition. And I think all of us can do so much more in recrafting how we approach some of these world challenges. And they're big, they're very big. The world, back to where we are today, is about $92 trillion. Post-COVID, because the world printed a whole lot of money, they estimate we need to spend $4.6 trillion a year, every year, to try to get the world onto some sustainability pathway. Today, we are only 12% of finding value propositions to spend that $4.6 trillion. So let that sink in a little bit. You might have heard that the UN has this Sustainable Development Goals. Anybody? SDGs? Hey, that's a fantastic branding effort. There was something called Millennial Development Goals before the SDGs. No one ever heard about them. The UN finally got their act together and tried to say, hey, we're going to really get behind this. SDGs are nothing more than a North Star. But our journey from here to this sort of sustainability pathway is made up of about $4.6 trillion of value propositions that, ironically, the technology exists and the money exists. What doesn't exist is the value propositions to put the money in. Okay, let that sink in for a second. Imagine there is a market that technology exists, the money exists, there's not enough qualified, bankable projects and players to absorb the capital. Okay, this is the three parts that I'd like to be able to, bring into my discussion. So, CEOs. I started down this journey about 16 years ago. Where's Ben? He's like, oh, there he is. He was 12 years old and he's always been like 10 feet tall. But we actually came up with this idea that we could use our data management capability to help people with some type of insight. Very simple. Bloody hell, it was hard. The number one reason is humans are challenging. So we kept at it. And what we did find is more and more through the years, ESG, sustainability, circular economy, resiliency, adaptation, frankly, they're all about, they mean roughly the same thing. Depends upon the audience you're talking to. CEOs get it because they care about their stock price. They get it because they're under pressure from advocates, NGOs, different things like that. So, accountants, any accountants in the room? IFRS, yes, there we go. Bottom line is, the accountants and the lawyers are going to rule the world. Sustainability is being dragged onto the balance sheet. It's happening. Whether we know it or not, it's going to basically be part of our life. So, employees, employers know that they want to work with impactful companies. This is just a part of that journey. So, 2024 and beyond, we have this journey from 2023 to 2030. This journey, 6.5 years or so, is basically, we have a whole lot to catch up on. The UN has it, it's called the 2030 Agenda. They're not terribly original, but it basically means, effectively, our world is running off a cliff. So you're going to see redoubling of efforts on corporations, on standards. You'll quickly see a resolution on plastics. You will start to see cities redefine themselves in adopting live, play, work sort of business models, which will be aligned with SDGs. This is coming down the path. So why is it, why am I up here on an impact sourcing sort of journey or explanation? ESG, sustainability, resiliency, adaptation, circular economy. I want you to all, over the next couple days, please reach out to myself or any of our team, but what does it mean? What could you do? What could you do differently? Because the change is coming, and I guess that's what I want to have as this message. So, what did we do? I was asked to sort of speak about, what was our journey? So we founded a company back 2008, First Carbon Solutions. Put a bunch of professional software people and put a bunch of professional services people in a room, founded a company. Didn't work, my God. They just tried to tear each other apart. So separated the children. One side, the software, became a different division called Clean Chain. Another side became professional services, which delivers services. Why is this important? Impact is all around you, in each and every one of you. Has anybody shopped in Primark lately? Anybody? You put your hand down. So, we provide services to Primark, Tesco, Nike, etc. This is, again, not a commercial, but the point is thinking about impact. Impact is much broader than you think. Their problem was, illegal dyes in the supply chain. So their products are being made in Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, Taiwan, China. These illegal dyes, when you wash them off, because they want to sell you the product, they don't deliver it to you. It goes down in the supply chain, or the stream, and basically does huge amount of damage to not only the environment, but everybody living downstream. So I'm trying to broaden your definition of impact. All of you that have shopped at that store have participated with stores that are now looking at who makes their product and who uses legal dyes that are that basically can break down in water. It goes through a whole lot of chemical management, etc. But I guess you wouldn't imagine that a small provider from the middle of the Pacific Ocean in the Philippines actually is having an impact if you bought a pair of Nikes. So I guess, what could you do in each one of your businesses, whether it's internally or you think about new products outside? I guess I was asked to speak just because I want to think about how could you be challenged? What are the opportunities? So ADEC has made a living out of that, and a lot of people have asked, what do you guys do? We were a BPO, and we use decision making to lift data to help people make better decisions. What are some of those decisions? We have food security. We try to go for big problems that we can provide data management systems for. Again, not trying to sell ADEC, I'm just trying to say, from a serial entrepreneur's level, we're trying to target what is our solutions for that $4 trillion, okay? We're homegrown, so I don't think we can do 4 trillion, but I'm pretty sure we'll do a couple $100 million. And each one of you in your businesses, in your perspective, what could you do towards that journey? First of all, it's smart business, okay? To be very frank, it's smart business. It's going to be the biggest trend that we ever have seen in our entire lives. Now, one of the most recent ones that we did, again, people would go, why are you doing this? We acquired a small company that grows seaweed off of Tasmania. Does that sound like a BPO company? Don't know. But I would tell you that all fish, aquaculture, is going to have to start to mitigate the fish, the pollution that comes off of aquaculture. And guess what? One of the best mitigating factors is growing kelp next to the bloody fish. So there's measurement, there's data, there's business process. In addition to that, some countries are now passing law that they now need to measure what goes actually into the fish food before it's fed. Again, data management, and it needs to be done by a qualified third party, not because for some reason they may not trust the actual fish aquaculture people. Business being business. So my point being is, whatever your business, whatever your process, buyers, sellers, I love the presentation before, health. One of our businesses is health. We don't do all of what they did, but we have a division that does remote patient management, and there's about 350 nurses that is part of that journey. To us, that's impactful. The Philippines is known for very solid health providers, but we're running out because everybody's going to the Philippines to get health. So we took some of that capability and are now growing out some of the delivery centers in Kenya to support the business. Again, our version of impact is being impactful for the workers, being impactful for the clients, and trying to make a buck. So again, this isn't a commercial, but I want to, and as it was described, I was very fortunate to get involved in the UN, so I'm probably boring the hell out of you about this end of the world stuff, but we are dramatically, we've overused our resources. Name a resource and it's already overstretched. But I would tell you it's probably on the cusp of the greatest opportunity to rewire how we use our resources to include people. Impact sourcing is really just another way to say how can we effectively drive new business to other places. I don't have all the answers. I'm just a serial entrepreneur that's sort of on a journey. But about 25% of my time, I do get to sit at the table where some of the policies, and from plastics to cities, are now going to have a Sustainable Development Goals certification. That's coming in the pipeline. So all cities will start to measure all their data, because the cities are a business model that are under pressure. So again, I'm giving those examples. The other one is, there's no great surprise here. ChatGPT is going to effectively, that and other AI models are part of this dramatic change. And it's either going to be a world's greatest opportunity for some, and others, it's going to shake up their business model. I put this side by side because the sustainability story or the ESG story is as dynamic as AI. And if we look at it from an opportunity perspective, there's so much more of delivering business models that we haven't even thought of. So I just wanted to sort of end where I started. Each one of you, whether you're delivering ESG into your organization, and that could be through diversity, equity, inclusion, it could be through delivering better societal impact. It covers a wide breadth, but we all have a role to play. But we have to understand it's more of a holistic journey where we're going, and how I believe that the industry of outsourcing can play an outsized role, just like we have over the last 25 years that helped the commercial world adopt better practices, new technologies. They always leaned on outsourcing as their partner, their go-to partner. I believe that we have a role to play in the transition towards a more sustainable world. So I'm going to end it very short, and I guess okay for a couple questions, if that's okay, if I haven't scared everybody to death.
Well, yeah, if there's questions now, if not, we've got the panel coming up shortly. So is there any burning questions, or Chris has got one?
Burning is not the right word, but okay.
Right, Mr. Soda.
I'll just shout quickly. It was just a little bit of more elaboration, if you wouldn't mind, James, about the money's there, the technology's there, but the business cases, the programs, the use cases aren't there. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more? Are you saying that, where is the money, for example? Where does that, is that just in all of the budgets of all the organisations who've got an agenda?
So a couple different answers to that question. There's development world, which is typically member states and Zuckerberg, the foundation world, and then you got the corporate world. These guys, even with all the world's governments behind it, don't match the private sector side. Historically, every country's made up of about 30% governmental-ish and 70% commercial. The challenge is, frankly, it's people, politics. If you're at the UN, so consensus voting means if there's 190, let's say there's 193 people in this room, we have to get you all to agree before we can move. So there's a political logjam. It's not 51%, and we're going to go with that. Consensus building at the global level is very challenging. Now, the money exists because you've got all this money, the green funds, the countries that put it up. There's not an absorptive capacity. Bankers would just say, there's not a bankable project. They're true to a certain extent because either there's not a regulation or how they're going to get their money back. So, but the money exists, the technology exists to truly change how we operate. The adaptability of that, not so much yet. And some of that is every country is on a different scale of the politics. I use so many words like circular economy, resiliency, adaptation, SDG, sustainability. You can get lost in the noise. Right now ESG will eventually be a lightning rod. But the problems don't change underneath. The politics of this, people spend a lot of time. Question? Yes, sir.
So I have a sort of a challenging question. Can you hear me, or should I use the mic? Okay. Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talked about the BPO industry being at the forefront of driving this change.
I believe that.
You believe that, but
they may ask me to leave after this.
Yeah, but there's I don't know what the stats are, but there's probably like 15 million people or so employed by the BPO industry.
Yeah, 250, 60 billion, whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
15 million. But even if you looked at the stats earlier, and 350,000 is the number for impact workers in the industry alone.
Mm-hmm.
If we really wanted to drive the change, then shouldn't we start with our own homes? So shouldn't the BPO sector be the vanguard by actually showcasing 20% of that workforce and targeting that as being impact workers to begin with? I don't see that change happening within at the moment.
That's a great point, but the BPO industry represents the greater world. We have to figure out a value proposition that drives this change. I don't have that answer. That's above my pay grade, but I will tell you that there's bloody value propositions in this journey that we were able to continually find. We make about 2 acquisitions a year. Again, we've been self-funded for 26 years and kind of continuing on our journey. We've been fortunate, but there should be 10,000 ADECs, and I'm not sure there's enough. There's still more to be done. Will the entire BPO industry, adopt this? I would hope, but until they see a clear value proposition that they can move money and, that journey, I don't know. But I think we're all part of that. Impact sourcing is one stream. Responsible supply chain is part of a bigger story of responsible supply chain.
Sorry, just another follow-up. I understand the point of multiple value propositions, but if you just take one, and if you just take the one example of impact sourcing, that alone can get you to 3 million as an example from the 350,000. We're so far along even on that one.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree. Sold. I'm done.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
I'm one little guy. We
Start
have
with one, right? Like
right. So 10 years ago, we put our money where our mouth is. We put up a site in Kenya, outside of Nairobi, it's about hour, 20 minutes outside Nairobi, and said, hey, we're going to be an impact sourcer, and got started. We have had success after a couple of years. So I'm a believer, but I just think we all have a journey. There's somebody in this room that has a bloody idea to help move this down the road. I was asked to speak because it's like, well, we make a living out of coming up with ideas and executing them. Not all successful. But yes, I would hope the outsourcing industry will be part of this journey. What will make them jump on this journey more than anything else is a value proposition they can clearly show their shareholders how they can deploy. I believe more software, more capability to help companies, countries, associations on their journey to be more sustainable.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Oh, not answer, actually.
Right, these 2 questions, and then we have a panel coming up.
Yes, sir.
Jim, thanks very much for that. Really, really, really insightful, I think is the word I'd use. I do a lot of teaching of people. So within the GSA, we provided programs for a long, long time, teaching people about
capacity building.
Well, it's about teaching people how to outsource, how to make outsource work. We teach them about agile sourcing, all that sort of stuff. And the sense I get from what you're saying is that there's stuff that we're not doing as well as we need to in order to be able to realise this fantastic opportunity. So the question that I have is, what would I need to teach people to help them to achieve the things that you would like them to achieve? Is it about teaching them to be more resilient, to be more courageous, to be more aware of opportunity, to be more insightful, to be more analytical? What would the program look like?
The short answer is yes, but the journey is we all have to basically become more involved. Unfortunately, not everybody has all the time to spend. I was fortunate to spend a lot of time at the UN and go, oh my God, we're in trouble. I mean, when the doors close and the negotiations start, you realize we're not even talking about the real problems. We're talking about how we're going to deal with votes. The world's going to change with us or without us, right? The weather's already changed. Supply chains are going to change. Anybody from Pakistan, right? How much of the country was underwater? 30%, 33% of the entire country is underwater, right? Migrant movement from Africa moving into Europe isn't because they're just here for a holiday. Their local areas are totally untenable to stay. So this has huge impacts. We're either going to figure out as a society how to migrate our way to a better business model, or we're not. Now, I tend to be an optimist, believe it or not, and I believe that capacity building, training, learning, faster, better, quicker, value models, I think we're all playing our role. I'm here today to express that we actually made a business out of it. I think that all of you have a journey. If it's capacity building is your vocation, how do we take that and say the industry through GSA and the voice to the world that we're doing more than just talking, we're actually delivering something. I think that, people want to see, they listen to talk, but they watch the feet. I think we need to do, we need to talk the talk, but then watch what we're doing.
One last question for you.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you mentioned two really important stakeholders, voters and shareholders, right?
Yes.
And there's a real dichotomy there between this idea that actually, until shareholders see value, the value proposition doesn't exist, as it were. And I just wonder, in all the things that you've seen and touched on in those tables that you've been able to be present at, do you ever think there's an extension to your business that actually is around educating shareholders, if that's where some of the barriers lie, if you like?
Thank you for that question. So one part of our role is we do run capacity building. In UN terms, that's training. We run a center with the UN called UNITAR. That's the training for governments. There's 32 centers. I'm the chair and executive director of one. I carry the blue passport. So we have an NGO that is called Global CO Alliance. Again, not a commercial, but there are some aspects of society you can't really deal with as far as a private sector. It doesn't work. It's too much issue. So you need to be an NGO. We got invited to set up an NGO with the UN about 8 years ago, and that's our operating vehicle at that stage. So the answer is yes, capacity building training is part of what we do, but we do it in conjunction with the UN because it's such a big bloody, it's well beyond our, we're one group. I will tell you that, you wouldn't think about it, we provide the software for 1 billion people because we provide 1,000 cities with something called Sustainable Development Goal, SDG for Cities framework that comes from UN Habitat. Again, some little company in the middle of the Philippine Islands, because we work with the UN, we have a 1 billion person impact. Now, that's just one little thing. I believe that everybody in this room has probably 10 better ideas each to do something in the world, and I would just ask you to do it, try it, in your own organization or outside. And I think we'll be well on our way to not only talking the talk, spreading impact sourcing, but our feet will be moving down the road in a journey that's going to happen with us or without us. I guess that's what I want to just leave that as a message. This is happening. This isn't like, hey, it's coming and we got to prepare for it. It's now. That's why I put ChatGPT and the UN issues side by side. It's already here. That's it. I've been told to get off the stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you.